Don't get stuck into learning and research for too long, because that can be fancy wording for procrastination. So you got to make messy action, but educated messy action. You're going to feel fearful when you first pull the trigger and you buy your property. You're going to feel fearful, but the antidote to fear is action. You got to take it, but make sure it's educated action.
Welcome to the Short-Term Show, the show about short-term rentals and long-term wealth, with real property owners hosting real properties who are crushing it in the vacation and short-term rental space. And here's your host, Avery Carl.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Show. We have a super cool guest today, but going to make a few announcements really quick. We are still hiring agents in Orlando, the Smokies, Emerald Coast, Myrtle Beach, Poconos, and Branson. And when I say we're hiring agents there, I mean we have a lot of clients who want to buy there, more than our current agents can handle. So we need you. So give us a holler at careers@theshorttermshop.com if you think you might be a good fit. We are using our Facebook group, the Smarter Short-Term Rentals Facebook group, but Facebook, in my opinion, has just kind of gone like down the tubes in terms of actually being able to get real recommendations and just get good help, and not just a bunch of people telling everybody they're an idiot all the time, or like paying to post in Facebook groups, or let me promote my cousin or whatever, and then getting mad at us when we're like, hey, you were soliciting and we deleted you. Or we deleted your comment. They're like, no, I wasn't. I was just providing value. Anyway, so we now have our Short-Term Shop Plus app, and it's free. So you can go to stsplus.com to get the info to download that. We also do have our mastermind housed in that, but the app download, and everything is free. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there, all of our podcasts, etc., market podcasts, free Wednesday calls, all that in one place. So download that, and guess that's it for that. We'll get right into the show. Today we got Amy Morehead. I ran into her at the Build Short-Term Rental Wealth Conference a few weeks ago, and she was telling me a little bit about her story. And I was like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? And she agreed. So Amy, how's it going?
Good. I'm a little starstruck because I hear you through my car speakers, and like you fill me with education and things, in the morning. So I'm a little starstruck to be here.
Well, don't be silly. I'm just some idiot on the internet, just like everybody else. So Amy, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into real estate, and what your journey's been like thus far.
Yeah. So my husband has owned a construction company for the past 20 years, and he's worked for investors like flippers or long-term rentals or real estate agents doing their punch list before they list or before they sell, whatever. And so he had been in my ear for a couple of years about we should be the investors, And I was like, that's funny, because with what money? With what money? So I'm working a full-time W-2. Fast forward a couple of years, and my mom had Alzheimer's, and so she lived with us for 5 years, and I became her caregiver. And so I had to step back from my W-2 to care for her. And here I am doing the most important work of my life, not making a dime. Mm-hmm. And the harsh reality is, if I don't clock into work, I don't make a cent. So we were having a hard time paying our bills because I wasn't working. So the choice was, do I go back to work and try to find someone, or do I stay home with mom and try to find something we can squeeze money out of? And mom and I had bought a property in Chile Village, in 2010, 2011, and then the last downturn of the market. So we had bought a chalet. And it was just our private vacation home. We didn't rent it out or anything like that. And at that time, light bulb went off. Can I squeeze money out of that? Can I start renting that to fund me to still be home with her? And that's what we did. So that was about 2021 is when we started renting the chalet in Chile Village in the Smokies. So that was my first introduction. And then after her passing, I realized that there could be another way to live life here, that maybe I don't have to work a full-time W-2, maybe there is a way to make income in a different means and to grow a retirement outside of a 401k. So we started investing in more property at that time. And so now we've got 5 STRs, 3 in the Smokies and 2 on the Bourbon Trail. So those are the 2 markets that we invest in right now.
Okay. So I don't think we've ever had anybody come on the show yet who, when they thought about getting into short-term rentals, that they already owned the vacation home. Like, we've had people who are like, oh, I converted my long-terms to short-terms, which I think is not a good strategy. You want to keep the long-terms. But I've never had anybody say, oh, well, I just happen to have this cabin in Gatlinburg and we decided to rent it. So I want to hear a little bit about that. So when y'all bought that, y'all were just going to have that as a family vacation home?
Yeah, it was just a vacation home. Mom loved Smokies. Mom loved black bears. Mom loved the forest. And so she wanted to be in close to the national park, and they're in Gatlinburg. So, Chalet Village borders that national park there. And she found a property, a chalet that hadn't been touched since like 1960, whatever.
One of those A-frames?
One of the, yeah. It's absolutely. And so it was really dated when we walked in there. Mm-hmm. And so, like we always do, we bring my husband with me and we show him this property that we're excited about. And can you make this into this whole idea I have in my mind of how I want it to look? And typically he'll just laugh and shake his head like, sure, I can do that. We'll make this happen. So we redid the inside, did some upgrades on the outside just to make it livable for us. If we wanted to go down there in the summertime, or if we wanted to go down there just for fall break and see the colors change, we did. So it was already renovated at that time when we decided to rent it. Okay.
So you renovated that one kind of for fun, just for y'all to have, and then you started renting it. And then now that's kind of your strategy, is to buy ugly properties and get them to be pretty and then turn them into great short-term rentals.
Yeah. So we buy hot mess properties, ones that have been sitting on the market 6+ months. No one will touch it because it needs, foundation work, or it has got water damage on the exterior walls because they don't have gutters, or whatever the mess is that prevents people from buying is what we run to those things. So our next purchase after of a chalet was after Mom's passing. And after I realized, wait a minute, maybe there is a living here. Maybe there's a way, to live on differently. So we bought this lake house, and it was more of my passion project after Mom passed. I needed to get physical with my grief. I needed to physically work that grief out. So we bought the lake house. And it was a hot mess, like caution tape over the deck because it shakes whenever you step on it. Raccoons living in underneath the subflooring and the crawl space, and water damage, whatever. It needed foundation work. The foundation was leaning in like 3 inches, which is a big deal in the foundation world. So it needed a lot of structural changes, and it was a probate case, and the kids wanted to be able to offload the property because it was getting kind of expensive. So we purchased it, and we lived there for the summer, and it was a good project for our whole family as we renovated this and worked together and made it into something beautiful. So it was a hot mess when we got it, but we made it into a really beautiful lakefront property.
So you said you run to foundation problems, and I think that is probably the scariest word for most investors or buyers in general. Is, oh my gosh, it has foundation problems. Let's back away, like run screaming in the other direction. So obviously I'm not assuming that you're some kind of structural engineer, but what is your opinion on, okay, I'm okay with this kind of foundation problem, but I'm not okay with this kind of foundation problem?
And I don't know. I don't know how to draw that line. Bring down a few foundation guys that will, tell us what they think is going on and give us their bid on what their bid is to repair it. So, like my husband is a carpenter and GC, but he'll bring in tradesmen. He'll bring in plumber. He'll bring in electrician and HVAC guy. And then if there's foundation work, he's not touching that. That would be a foundation person doing all that work. Mm-hmm. But if they can shore the property up and they can support that foundation, maybe it's something we can move forward with. So if we put a bid in on a property, we have that 10-day period. We're going to have a foundation person come in and take a look. Is this salvageable? Or should we walk away? So we have one right now. We just now got done doing a new foundation on this property in Frankfurt along the Bourbon Trail. Again, it was sitting on the market and it's a hot mess. But it'll be beautiful when we get done.
Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about numbers, not too far in the weeds. So what is your budget when you're looking at these ugly properties and for the actual purchase? And then how much do you usually plan to have to put into them?
Yeah. So purchase price, we feel comfortable, like maybe 400 less or 500 less is where we feel comfortable. If it's in the twos, wonderful. We got a property in Pigeon Forge. You can walk to the strip from this property, stoplight 10, and it was 220. And we got that 3 years ago, I guess. So to get a short-term rental, none of our properties are short-term rentals prior, except for one. They're all residential or long-term rentals. But to get one that's right on the strip of Pigeon Forge or right off the strip for 220 is phenomenal. So that was kind of a no-brainer. That was a no-brainer. And so if it was 220, we put in right at 98,000 into that. So good amount of money to renovate it. And then now it's bringing in, maybe it's a 2.2. It's bringing in upper 70s, somewhere in there, is what we're able to get.
Oh, wow. That's great on 220.
Yeah. And our most expensive one was 425. 425 was our most expensive purchase price that we have. But now, the ARV after our renovations, that 425, we're low sevens now.
Oh, wow.
Just with the amount of equity that we have. So all of our properties are value add properties. We're able to force appreciation out of it and have a lot of equity after we're done with the rehab. This
may be too far in the weeds, but where do you draw the line of things that you update that do add equity to the house, and then other things that might be cool for it to have as a short-term rental, but really don't make it worth any more money? So that's kind of a big thing that I see right now is new investors getting in there and buying a house and then spending, another half of the purchase price or 3/4 of the purchase price in cash on updates and amenities. But at the end of the day, after you're done with all that, you're probably not looking at a house that is worth double because you put a pool and a pickleball court and a sauna in it. Mm-hmm. So how do you look at that when you're doing a rehab in terms of what you're rehabbing?
Yeah. So I have to look at the exit strategy, either whether it's going to be an STR or we're going to flip it. So if we're, and I have to kind of weigh both when I'm doing my design. So right now in the Smokies, there's a lot of in-ground pools going in, like indoor in-ground pools. Mm-hmm. That's a huge investment. Mm-hmm. Pools, typically, it's not going to raise the value of the property. You're not going to have that much more equity in the property if you were to go sell it. If your exit strategy is put it on the market and selling it, likely wouldn't add that much more to the price.
40,000 tops. 40,000 tops. 40,000 tops for a pool in terms of appraisal value.
Yeah. So that would not be worth it for me to do that. Hot tubs, maybe so. It's not that big of an investment. Hot tub's not a huge investment,
Yeah, I got to have those in the Smokies. There's no way around it because everybody else has them. So you're not necessarily adding so much income, but putting yourself on par with the rest of the market.
We like doing high-end finishes. So like finished carpentry. So when you get into a house and say it hasn't been touched since 1970, whatever, the trim work around the doors and trim work around the windows, if you can pull that trim work off and put a nicer trim, whether you're going to do craftsman style or whether you're going to do more of a crown style, whatever it's going to be, that those touches of fine carpentry in a home really raises the value. It brings more eyes to your property. Putting some wainscoting. If you have a dining room area, you want to put some wainscoting up. Do that. It's not that much to do, and now that Jimmy can train the guys to do all this stuff, wainscoting really ups the I guess it's easier on the eyes when you come into a property and you have some of these finer finishes. Kitchen cabinets, upgrading your kitchen and getting solid countertops. So at any time, usually in our barn, we'll have 3 or 4 sets of kitchen cabinets, because if he takes on a job, say a lady bought a house and the kitchen cabinets aren't her color, she wants them all ripped out and she wants new kitchen cabinets put in. Okay. He'll come in and take those kitchen cabinets down, store them in our barn for our next property. If we have something that can kind of fit that layout of that kitchen, he'll store the granite down there, all of that. And so getting some nice kitchen cabinets, full overlay, crown, solid wood. No, he's not a fan of IKEA kitchen cabinets or any of those. And then putting solid surface in, that can make a phenomenal difference. So kitchen, your master bath, your ensuite, really making that shine. So kitchen and master suite are huge. So fine carpentry throughout the house, leveling it up a little bit around the trim, the windows, flooring. Yes, that would really add, I think, some value to whether you're doing STR or flipping.
Yeah, totally agree with that. All right. So when you are searching for a rehab property, how are you choosing the market? And then are you just choosing the worst property in the best location, or what's your criteria there?
So I mainly look in vacation markets, and as of recent, Bourbon Trail is becoming more of a vacation market. We live here. We live on the Bourbon Trail. So it wasn't a hot item before, but now it's really starting to bring more people in. So now it's an option for us to be able to purchase locally. But I'll look at a vacation market because I like doing vacation rentals. That's what I enjoy doing. I will get on the MLS. I will search for something that's been on the market maybe longer than 90 or 120 days, typically. And I'm starting with the lowest price. I'll sort it out by lowest price. And it has to either have, in the Smokies, say, convenience or a view. It has to have convenience or a view, one of the two. So you have to be right next to the park, or right next to the Gatlinburg Strip, or right next to the Pigeon Forge Strip, something that's really convenient, which all of ours are, or a view, which we have none of the view right now. So that's typically how we'll start our search. And I'll look for something that I know we can add value in. We can change this out. We can make this look beautiful, and add value to that. So looking for the ugly duckling among all the listings. Where is the ugly duckling? If it looks like a turnkey, I'm really not going to look at it, because I already know it's overpriced for what I'm willing to pay for a property.
Right. You're looking for that forced appreciation. So if it's already there, then
someone's already done the work. They're benefiting from it. We want to be the ones doing the work and benefiting from it. Yeah. So we're going to find the ugly duckling in all the listings, and then go take a look.
Love that. High days on market, bad photos, ugly houses.
All the things that would turn a typical home buyer away.
Yeah.
We're looking for just the opposite.
So I'd imagine you're having some pretty good success here over the last few years then, because people aren't really buying houses anyway, even the turnkey ones. But the average buyer is looking to do the least amount of work possible. So I would hope that you're able to find more deals right now because there's even fewer people who are willing to put in work.
Yeah. So with the interest rate being so high, there's not as many people out there investing right now. So your competition is limited, which gives you a little bit more negotiation room for pricing, because it could be sitting here for another few months. So we can try to work out a deal here. We can go on and close it now at this price, or it's going to sit on the market for a number of months longer. So yeah, it's easier for me to find a deal right now, even though, everyone's pushing pause, pumping the brakes because the interest rates are so high. But I'm never going to be able to go back and get a cheaper price on that house ever. I can always go back and get a lower interest rate once they drop. So I'm not letting the interest rate scare me. I'm letting the house price determine whether we're gonna pull the trigger or not. Because I can always refinance later down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really good strategy. I was actually just on my mortgage rate app right now checking the rate since you mentioned it. Mm-hmm. And here in mid-August, we're at the lowest rates that we have seen in the last 12 months. So they're heading in the right direction, which means there's going to be more competition. I'm not trying to FOMO y'all. I'm just like, it's basic economics. We've had a lot of good luck buying stuff the past year and a half because nobody's buying anything. So rates are headed in the right direction. If you're somebody that is waiting on rates to get a little bit better, they are, in fact, a little bit better. So keep an eye on that.
So this last we call Trailhead Lodge, and you can walk to the national park. You can walk to a trailhead from this property. It had been sitting on the market for 6+ months, and it was one of the ones in the Smokies that still had like the big jet tub in the loft area, red carpet. It could have been I don't know if it's heart shaped, whatever. It just looked really dated and really old, and so the pictures looked so crummy. And so when I scrolled through and I found those pictures and I knew how horrible and hideous it looked, I was like, okay, let's go take a look. This might be one for us. Let's go see what we can do. And so I'll go and I'll bring Jimmy with me and I'll have a vision of what I want these rooms to look like. Can you make this whatever, XYZ? And yeah, he can do that. So that's what we'll end up doing.
If we only all had a Jimmy.
Yeah. He's my magic ticket throughout all this, because he enjoys it. He really does enjoy it. So he'll do the rehab. I'll do the design. So I'll get in Canva and do me a vision board for each room, how I want it to look at the end of the day once we're done with the rehab. I'm not a designer, but I enjoy design. It's fun for me. So I'll design each room and give that as a vision for him to be able to plan a scope of work, what it's going to take to get it to look like what she wants it to look like.
I mean, it sounds like you're about as qualified as a lot of the people marketing themselves as designers out there. So there's so many popping up that are like, oh, I'm not just in short-term rental. Like I see it in just my daily life. Like my friend who enjoyed decorating her house is now starting a design business. And I'm like, you realize that is an actual trade that involves school and things.
Skill. Like they have different, like true designers have skills that I just don't have. I just have an eye for color and an eye for things that go together. And I've learned the technology to put it together. And yeah, it works. I can design a property. So I've designed all of our properties.
Ooh, you're better than me. I can't even do that. I can't make decisions. I'm like, yep, that looks fine. Just go.
Yeah. And then I'll self-manage all the properties once they're done. Once they're up on the market, I'll self-manage.
Yeah. Love that. And I didn't even ask about that. I sometimes get on this show, like into the assumption that everybody self-manages and understands why that's a great way to go if you're really trying to optimize your cash flow and investment.
Well, we didn't at first. When I was home with mom and I was trying to squeeze money out of this chalet in Chalet Village, right? I didn't know anything about self-management then. And I went to a property manager and put it on property management, and it started making a little bit of money, a little something to help supplement, but it obviously didn't replace it, income. And then I started realizing it was making a little money. And I started picking up like the Hospitable Host book. And so in those Hospitable Host books, there's, because you were an author in one. So there's different authors in those books, and you get to learn their story on how they got started and what I should be doing. And I learned about self-management through that. Once I read the volume 2, and I got introduced to you. And then I realized that you wrote a book too about short-term. Okay, I got to get Avery's book. So I read Avery's book. And, dog-eared and underlined and highlighted and all these things, like, okay, I can make a go at this. Like, I can make this happen. And so then I took over the management of the chalet and started doing self-management. And I tripled my income, when I self-managed, tripled my income. I knew how to push it, how to make adjustments, and the pictures and the photography and design-wise, how I need to change, whatever. All the things that you have to do to really to show well, I did. And so we're able to triple the income there.
Love that. And it's so true. So many people are like, oh, well, I'm just going to make the same amount as the property manager did, and I'll just be making 20% more because I'm not paying them. But a lot of times you can significantly increase the bookings, especially if you're on one of those big, huge, like dinosaur property managers that have been around forever and they've got hundreds of thousands of properties on their program. A lot of times they don't care what your price per night is. They're working off of volume, and a booked night is a booked night. So they're booking these properties at really low prices to get a lot of asses in the seats across a lot of properties. They don't care about optimizing the price per night. They care about telling the owners, hey, look how booked we are, because most owners aren't going to say, oh, well, are you really getting the highest dollar figure per night that you can? Most people that are putting their properties on these don't really care about that. So you are, when you're managing your pricing and revenue management yourself, a lot of times with the help of Price Labs, able to get a much higher price per night than your property manager was ever getting. That type of property manager. There are other types that are better, but this particular type, not so much.
Right. And I was with one of those old school property management companies in the Smokies that have been there forever, and no one's going to care about your property more than you are. And no one's going to put the time and attention into your property more than you are, or push it as much as what you're going to do. And make sure your guests are happy when they're there and they have all the things that they need. So all these things that you can learn along the way make a huge difference into your bottom line, into your gross revenue you can bring in.
Love it. Absolutely love your story. So, Amy, we're getting to the end of the show. We've got the last 3 questions that we ask all of our guests. And question number 1, what advice would you give 20-year-old Amy if you knew then what you know now?
Girl, what are you doing with your time? You're wasting your money. You're wasting all your money. You have this nice car and you're buying these handbags that are brand name, whatever. You can be letting that money work for you. Go buy a property, live in it for 2 years, then put a renter in it and let them pay your mortgage for you and grow. You cash flow from that and move on to your next one. So had I been smart back then, had I known all this stuff back then, I could have retired when I was 40, before 40 probably, if I would have followed that plan, but I had no idea about it, So my 21-year-old is starting to do that now. So he's getting his first property. So he's going to be so much in a better place in his life than what I was, when I was his age. So yeah, that's what I would say. Start earlier. I wouldn't have waited so long had I known.
Same. So dumb. But, that's what your 20s are for, to be dumb.
You just don't know. You just don't know. I knew nothing about that.
Well, doing dumb 20-something-year-old stuff is not a good look in your 30s and 40s. So that's reserved for the 20s. Okay, question number 2. What advice would you give a new investor who's looking to get started today? It's almost fall of 2025, real weird time in the real estate industry. What's your advice?
If you're brand new, education, education, education. Read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, learn the language, learn the strategies, join a mentorship, find your tribe. So find a group of people that are doing what you want to do and are like 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. Because if you're with those group of people, you're going to grow and you're going to get better at what you're doing. And then if you level up and you become the next best version of you because you're around them, then you can go to a different mentorship and learn different things who are, again, 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. Don't get stuck into learning and research for too long, because that can be fancy wording for procrastination. So you got to make messy action, but educated, messy action. You're going to feel fearful when you first pull the trigger and you buy your property. You're going to feel fearful, but the antidote to fear is action. You got to take it, but make sure it's educated action. So read the books, do the podcast, join a mentorship. Don't be scared of getting that specialized knowledge, because you're not going to learn that really anywhere else. There's a lot of noise on the internet. There's a lot of noise out there.
Yeah, so much.
People will say you can learn all this stuff for free and all these things. Not really. There's a lot of noise out there, and there's a lot of different opinions on everything. And if you hear all these different opinions, you have a confused brain, and a confused brain doesn't take action. So you join one group, you find your tribe, you follow their protocols, and you take action.
Yeah, I agree. And you can learn a lot of stuff on YouTube and whatever, but you have to sift through so much dumb assery. Like any dumbass can post things on YouTube, and you kind of don't know until you're 30 minutes to an hour and a half into somebody's content of like, okay, is this person for real? Or they like, and there's so many people that have like one property and they've owned them for 6 months and they get real gung ho and they're like, I'm going to be an influencer, and they don't know anything about anything. So I agree. It's when you find somebody who is offering an actual mentorship and is actually doing what you want to do, and you vetted that, it's a lot easier than having to sift through all the idiots on the internet.
Because you get through all the confusion. You get through all the crap that really would cloud your brain with confusion, and then you're not going to act. You're not going to take action. When I first cracked open the Hospitable Host books, the first volume, I was introduced to my now mentor. I was introduced to Stacy St. John. And so I'm in her STR Success Accelerator, which I would recommend to anyone. It's great. You learn so much. You really do. So I can't stress that enough, of finding your tribe of people, being at the right table, sitting at the right table with the right people that will help you grow.
Love that. And a very nice segue into the next question, which you can't say hospitable host. What's your favorite book that's impacted your mindset?
Can I say 2?
Sure, of course.
All right.
We'll take all the book recommendations.
The first one that just kind of cracked my brain open to a different way to live is, like most everyone, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Mm-hmm. You know, just foundational information about there's a different way to live out there. You know. And that's a required reading for all my kids. I have 3 boys. They all had to read that book, because you're not going to learn this in school, but you need to know about, all these, the different way of mindset. Second one that I really love is Everything is Figureoutable. Marie Forleo. So she teaches you how to take a goal that you have, a big, huge goal that you have, and break it into daily actions to achieve that goal, and to get over your fear and realize it's just FEAR, face everything and rise. And there's no failure. A fail is a first attempt in learning. So you reframe the way you think about things. You reframe your mindset. So I've got like quotes, on back here on my desk from Marie Forleo from that book. And Miracle Morning, because come on. I mean, everyone needs a miracle morning. Mm-hmm. And that's huge for me every day. I still do miracle mornings every day.
Love that. All great recommendations. So if our followers want to find you or follow you on social media, how do they do that?
Yeah. So we do handyman and renovations along the Bourbon Trail for investors. Oh, cool. So if investors are...
So we can all have a Jimmy.
Yes, you can all have a Jimmy. Yes, you can. So, because what we found was like being in the Smokies, and we're not boots on the ground there. We got to find boots on the ground to do all these little things, knick-knack stuff that come up, or big renovations that come up. So we do that for people here along the Bourbon Trail. So we're STR Fix It Pros. So strfixitpros.com. And it's I just now launched the social media and the website and all these things because he's never really advertised. He's always been word of mouth. And this is like a DBA of his Morehead carpentry business. So we just now started that whole social media and advertising that. I also do dementia caregiving education, so dementiahero.com. So I'll come alongside dementia caregivers and teach them how to survive this journey. And what, we're investing in real estate as income, but it's buying me my freedom. So I'm able to sit alongside dementia caregivers and teach them how to do this in a better way. I'm a nurse practitioner by trade. And so I've spent years caring for dementia and Alzheimer's, but I was on the other side of the exam table when I was a caregiver, when I was a daughter. And so it gave me a different viewpoint. So I like to help people when they're in their time of struggle. So real estate investing is helping to fund me so I can do that more.
Love that. And that's why we do it, to freedom of time to do the more important work. So yeah. I love that. Great way to close out this episode. Amy, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.